Hello, everyone, and welcome, as we wait for the rest of the waiting room to mosey their way in. Thank you for being here today. We'll get started in like 30 seconds. Okay, that's about 30 seconds. Welcome again. My name is Sam. I am a PhD candidate in the sociology department here and a GSSA in Rackham's Professional Development Engagement Office, and I would like to welcome you to Rackham. Today's program is brought to you by Grad School 101. So, today's program and so many other helpful resources can be found in the Grad School 101 portal in Canvas. All incoming students should have been given access to it, and I know that emails should have gone out about it as well. Grad School 101 has a bunch of information that's very specific for you, for your experience here at Rackham Graduate School. So I ask you to please just give it some time to peruse, peek around, and see all of the ways that the portal can serve you. And I'm going to have Danielle drop a link in the chat so that you can have direct access to it, just in case you're like, Sam, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, so today's program is all about the resources available to us in the Office of Graduate Student and Program Consultation Services. We're joined by Mallory Martin, who's the office's director, and Jemiah Barrett, the Conflict Resolution and Academic Relations Specialist. Before we begin, I'd like to mention a few things that will help us cultivate a really rewarding time together. First, can you please change your name to the name that you registered with so that we know that you are here? And then can you also please take a moment to do not disturb your notifications on your computer and on your phone if that is possible? And it would also be great if you could have your cameras on so that our panelists can feel as if they're speaking to actual humans instead of a room full of computers. And I also want to acknowledge that I totally understand if that's not accessible to you. And I also want to offer a reminder that this event is being recorded so that you can come back to it whenever you need to. So, Mallory and Jemiah will share their presentation, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. All right, let's get started.
Thank you so much, Sam, and welcome everybody. It's great to see folks. Let me just get my presentation shared here for us as we move through our presentation. So you already heard from us a little bit about who we are and the roles that we have at Rackham, and we now want to hear from you by doing a little poll. So we have a few questions here. I was sharing earlier that this is a bit of an experiment for us to do polls via a QR code. So you'll notice at the very bottom of this screen, it is a small QR code that you should be able to access if you have a smartphone with you, but I will also read out these questions for you. And if the QR code doesn't work, you can put these in the chat. But we always like to just get a sense about what people are thinking and kind of considering when they talk about kind of graduate school. As you are, move my bar so I can actually read my question. So as you think about graduate school, what are some things that you are excited about? And if you were to scan the QR code here at the bottom of the screen again, it may take you to this kind of interactive poll. If not, you can put this into the chat. So the four options are like meeting new people, moving to a new place, learning new things, or advancing my research. So feel free to like drop into the chat, or if you're able to kind of scan the QR code, this should populate the poll in real time. Just to hear like, what are you thinking about? What's exciting to you as you're considering this next step in your graduate career? So I see just in the chat a few comments like advancing my research, meeting new people, moving to a new place, learning new things, all of the above. So it looks like the chat is our best our best bet at this interactive poll right now. I like the folks that are saying everything, like all of this is exciting when we think about graduate school. So that's great. So we'll kind of move forward. The next question is about like, what are the things that you're nervous about? Same areas, meeting new people, moving to a new place, learning new things, and advancing my research. We have things that are exciting us, but what of these four things are maybe you a little bit skeptical, nervous, hesitant about as you're considering your PhD or master's career? The moving, so a lot of people are saying moving to a new place is a lot. Another person said, like, all of these actually, just as I'm equally excited about them, I'm equally nervous about all of them. The cold weather, thank you, somebody naming just the different place that Michigan and the university is, moving again. And then, yeah, even advancing my research. So what's interesting is as we've done this over time is sometimes we hear people talk about like, I'm really excited about learning new things and I'm kind of nervous about advancing my research. We can kind of hold both of those at the same time, that you're going to be in a new environment, working with mentors, PIs, other kind of scholars, and that can be exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking too, which is extremely reasonable. In the spirit of our presentation, we also just wanted to ask this question. So, where would you go, right, if you ran into an issue or needed support during your time in graduate school? What are some places where you yourself know you would reach out to? Because today we're going to share with you more resources of places that you can go specific to Rackham to get some support. So, number one is my advisor. Number two is department chair program staff. Three is family member. Four, friends or other supports, or just campus resources. So if you were to encounter challenges, like of these five options, where do you think you might go to seek some support? So it's advisor, campus resources, friends, family, friends, exactly. Campus resources, perfect. I mean, this is the benefit of having, um, you know, uh, kind of our grad 101 offerings for you is to learn about the campus resources, certainly the resources specific to Rackham, and to also signal that these are all very appropriate outreaches for support. Your advisor, the department chair, program staff, family, friends, and campus resources. The main message for us today is that GSPECS, which is our office, and Rackham can always be a first place to kind of go to find a good channel or pathway for support. And so that's what we kind of hope to share with you more today. So thanks for your participation in the chat and not the poll. We'll we'll get that fixed. So I'll turn it over now to Jemiah.
Hello. So you might be asking yourself, what does GSPECS or graduate student and program consultation services do? Right? So we provide student support, faculty staff consultations, as well as resolution services. So as we are getting ready to find out, graduate school is full of issues and concerns, and they can be kind of nerve wracking as well as exciting, right? When we're moving and making new friends and advancing our research. What happens where you're looking for a space that you can come to? We can provide a neutral and safe environment for you to talk, listen to some of those concerns and complaints. We also are able to refer individuals to campus resources, help mediate conflicts, advocate for a fair process. And understanding that conflict is a normal thing and it's expected, being a part of being a human and working with others. The good thing to do is to see it as an opportunity for change, understanding, and engagement. Okay. And then lastly, we can advise on university policy and procedure. So here's some good examples for you. Relationship concerns related to an advisor or a PI. So what that can look like is maybe lack of feedback or too much feedback, or maybe unclear expectations. We do have a lot of graduate students come through and are concerned about how do they navigate this new relationship with that advisor or that PI. Sometimes it's micromanagement, not enough communication. That's what a couple of examples would be. Then we have academic progress or course concerns, lab setting. So maybe you're having a challenge in getting acclimated to the lab or understanding the dynamics within that space, questions or concerns about safety or protocol, access to or the eligibility for emergency funding, and then as well as mental or physical health concerns. So let's put it more clearly. Where would be opportunities for you to contact us? So contact us if you're having a problem or a conflict involving the university and you don't really know where else to go to resolve it. We can be a catch-all sometimes. If you're feeling like your concerns are being unheard, reach out to us. If you're needing information about policies and procedures that could possibly impact you, whether it's in your program or just kind of what the university is sharing out, don't feel scared to reach out. We're always a resource for you. As if you have questions or you're needing help resolving or mediating a dispute with faculty or staff, that's another way in which you can reach out to us about. And then lastly, if you believe your rights have been violated or you haven't been given due process, reach out to us. And then we have something that I kind of mentioned earlier, which is emergency funds. Rackham actually has something called the Rackham Emergency Funds, and students are eligible, PhD or master students, to apply for up to $2,500 for eligible expenses. Some of those include medical needs, emergency travel, or even unexpected events. As master students, they're eligible for one award for the duration of their time in their master's program. And as PhD students, they're eligible for up to 2 awards throughout the duration of their PhD experience. Okay, and then our Rackham resources. So some of these things are things that you'll hear about, but maybe you need additional information or you'd like to inquire more about. So we have our leave of absence policy. Some of those absences could include a personal leave, a medical leave, family necessity or dependent care, and then of course military service. Some of them have specifications or additional requirements. Some of them do not, but online you can find more specific information and timelines associated. And then we have our parental accommodation policy. This allows for up to 6 to 12 weeks for a birth or adoption. Each parent or partner is eligible for it. And understanding that a parental accommodation policy accounts for a change in your coursework and an adjustment, not so much a complete leave. It's a little bit different from that of our leave absence policy. And then we offer workshops. So as you're going into your graduate career, you might potentially see one of us, or you might potentially see a representative from our office providing a workshop in one of your courses. Some of those include navigating difficult conversations. So as you're finding out, how do I have some tough conversations, whether with peers or faculty? How do you communicate across differences, right? You're recognizing that you all are coming in with different experiences. How do I bridge across those differences? Group dynamics. And then lastly, we sometimes offer our listening circles. So that is not so much a workshop, but rather an opportunity for participants to speak and address a topic or to build community with one another. Lastly, we offer in our during the academic term, we offer every Monday and Wednesday office hours. They are virtual. You're able to find the link in the Rackham student newsletter, and you can log on to a Zoom link, and somebody from our office will be there to address any questions you may have. Often there isn't a wait, but if there is a wait, there will be someone there to give you a link to set up a meeting if you would like to come back at a later time or meet with someone individually. And then lastly, we have our contact information. So of course, I've shared a lot of things with you, but you can always reach out to us at our generic email, rackham-gspecs@umich.edu, where you can provide any inquiries that you may have, requests for meetings, as well as I'm going to include our link to our webpage so that you can peruse it and set up your own individual meetings if you ever need to. Then we have our individual email addresses. So Mallory, she will be transitioning out of our office, but she will be a great resource for you as the student ombuds. And then lastly, there's me. You have my email address here, but you can also find it on our website as well.
Thank you, Jemiah. I just want to take a moment, to not annotate the presentation, but to just go back again to the framing of our office. And so to really let folks know that GSpecs is set up to be a place where you can come to address issues or concerns that might be affecting your time in graduate school. And these are just some things that we have worked with and through over time. we don't want you to feel as though, graduate school is kind of full of trials and tribulations. And we just know that this is a different time in your life. As Jemiah mentioned, moving, working with new folks, engaging in research in a different way. We just want to emphasize that Rackham is here to help, and GSPECs can be the place to go to kind of figure out and determine where that, best help or consultation can be. So just wanted to kind of reiterate again, like the purpose and the vision of our office. We have a lot of time, which was intentionally created in the presentation, for you to ask questions, to kind of unmute and let us know if you want to learn more specifically about, the emergency funds or any of these leave of absence policies, parental accommodation policies, or any other things that are kind of on your mind as you think about the transition to graduate school. So we intentionally have like the latter half of our presentation to engage with you around some Q&A. So I'm going to leave this slide up just for a bit. I'll look at the chat, but if anyone has questions, wants to unmute, feel free to do so. But like I said, I'll be monitoring the chat as well to see kind of what might come up for folks. And then Jemiah, wonderfully put our webpage in the chat and, pointed out that we do have a link where you can reach out to schedule a meeting with us to address any issues or concerns that are coming up. This is true whether it's day one in your grad program or defense day in your program, right? So you can always reach out to GSPECs at any time throughout your career.
Thank you, Mallory. Thank you, Jemiah. While everybody here, gathers their questions, processes this information, I have a few questions for y'all. So, are y'all a resource for conflict amongst my peers, or is it just with people who are representatives of the university, like faculty and staff?
So to answer that question, we are actually a resource for peers and staff and faculty. So if you find yourself having difficulty with a lab mate or someone in the course, or just somebody that you keep coming across, I guess, frequently in your program, you can reach out to us for consultation services, as well as if you have more of a direct conflict or issue with a faculty member, a PI, an advisor, staff member in your program, you also can reach out to us.
Thank you. Would you say that y'all are the first step, or should I go to perhaps my department chair or somebody closer to my department and my field before going to Rackham?
I would say it kind of depends. And so you can always reach out to us at any time. And we really encourage students to try to address things as best they can, like at the local level in their home department. That being said, sometimes that's the nature of the conflict. Or, you have a concern regarding your advisor. And so you want to problem solve about how to bring it up with your advisor before kind of starting there. So it really kind of depends upon information and what is presenting in the conflict. As Jemiah said, a lot of people reach out to us just to say like, hey, this is something that I'm noticing or experiencing, or I have questions about, or I just want to make sure that this is something that happens in grad school. Like, do people change advisors? Yes, they do. It can happen. And so we can be a place to kind of help give you a sense of, the scope of that policy, or the scope of kind of, kind of what is happening. But the kind of, I guess, flow of contacts, to Sam's point, is you have a director of graduate studies, the DGS. That's a great point person for you. An escalation of that is the chair of the department. And at any time in that kind of contact, you can always reach out to GSPECs along the way. We do keep information private and confidential. So, thank you. Sydney is jumping to it. We do keep information private and confidential. So if you reach out to us, we're not reaching out to your program or to your department to kind of offer insight and share details without your permission. So oftentimes I'm meeting with a student and they say, I just really want to understand more about this, or could you ask my program about this? And I'm happy to do that, but I don't do so without a student's permission. And then I'll let Jemiah kind of tackle the confidential kind of reporting question that was raised.
Okay, yes. So most people in our office are mandatory reporters. So uniquely enough, I am not a mandatory reporter. So when you reach out and do consultations, fill out our form. You can request to meet with me specifically. Everything you keep with anyone in our staff will be like confidential. However, I have no obligations to report anything to the university. So if you would like me not to report something to the university, I won't do it. But in the same manner, if you were to meet with Mallory or another representative in our office and you're maybe having an issue with a program and you're like, I'm worried that this will get back to them. You don't have to worry about us reaching out to your program without speaking to you first on your, we want to be in support of you. We don't want to go behind your back or do anything that could be hurtful for you in the long run.
That's a great question. And to comment as well regarding your individual departments, some of your faculty are mandatory reporters, others are not. Likely faculty that are affiliated with in a staff role as well. So like your director of graduate studies or your department chair, but it's good information to know who's a mandatory reporter, who isn't, and it is a very fair question to ask when you first get in.
I see that there was a follow-up question about emergency funds. And so one was, if you've already received some type of financial aid for school, are you still eligible for the emergency funds? And the answer is yes. Both Rackham and then there's also a great resource on campus called the Center for Education of Women, or CEW Plus, offer emergency funding for students. And we do so kind of with the recognition and sometimes consultation um, to make sure that there is kind of room in a student's package to receive extra aid, but because of how it's noted in the disbursement, it is viewed as an emergency disbursement. So it's not something that kind of is like attached to formal aid for your tuition. So that is part of the consideration. There is something called the child care subsidy as well that is run through the Office of Financial Aid, and that is something that is kind of based upon aid and FAFSA information. And so that's one of the few times where we see some consideration and some conversation needing to happen so that if a student receives the subsidy and emergency funds, it's not impacting, right, their total award amount. But those are all things that we would kind of do in individual consultation and application review with folks. We don't want you to feel like you're not at all eligible for emergency funds if you have outside funding, because that's just not, not the case.
And then in addition, there was a question about leave of absences. So I've included the response with the link to our webpage where it details what each leave means, the specifications regarding it, how to contact anyone regarding getting documentation turned in. But more specifically, we also have a leave of absence coordinator within our office who can speak more directly towards any questions you may have. So I'd say and encourage you to look at that webpage, see if you have any additional questions. And if you ever find yourself interested in a leave of absence, don't hesitate to reach out to our office or follow back up on this website to get more detailed information.
Yep. Thanks, Jemiah. I will just say, like, as a high level, leave of absence regarding this policy is specific to PhD students, because PhD students are required to be enrolled in the fall and winter terms. So to this question, it is kind of term by term, with a maximum of 4 consecutive terms for a leave of absence, which is essentially 2 years of study. So if you find yourself needing to take a leave, you can request it for 1 term at a time, a year at a time, but the maximum you can take a leave of absence before you would be required to return to a registration status of active study would be 2 years or 4 terms. And the personal leave of absence is something you can only request once during your graduate study, but we do have other leave options, such as the medical, family care, and military, depending upon, the need and the rationale for kind of stepping away from study. And Joel is our leave of absence coordinator. His contact information is on the webpage that Jemiah put into the link as well. I see, let me see. So one about emergency funds and medical bills, and then like the application process. So that's a really great question. Do you want me to dive in, Jemiah, or do you want to?
Yeah, so I can respond to that. The emergency fund, you become eligible the moment you are enrolled in courses. So once you become a graduate student, with Rackham or with the university, and as a Rackham graduate student, you become eligible to apply for emergency funds. That is a little bit tricky when we start thinking of like if you came in with medical bills. The Rackham graduate emergency funds would not be eligible to apply to any previous or prior medical bills. If you were to accrue any during the time in which you're in graduate school, that would be a possibility for you to apply for support in that way. What is the process? So the application process, you would go online. It gives you all the details, kind of gives you a guideline as to what things fall within the emergency fund, as well as it requires you to upload a budget. So what your budget may be monthly. What specifics do you have for your request for emergency funds? Any documentation you may have. You submit that application online. That application is then received by our emergency fund committee. And the membership of that committee comprise of GSPEC's staff members as well as finance and fellowship staff members. They have the know-all to know like what does your financial aid package look like? Would it be possible to make adjustments if needed to ensure that you do get support? Is it not possible for you to get support? All of those factors play a part. They normally will get back to people frequently, so within a week or essentially about a week to get a response as to whether it's been approved or denied. And even in some cases, if they need additional documentation or clarification within your application. Okay.
Any other questions that are coming up for people? We know that this is, a lot of information, which is, I think, an intentional benefit of having grad school one-on-one programming and recordings so that you can always go back and review things, um, bring things, up to others. And again, always consider outreach to GSpecs if there are kind of questions and concerns, or you're not quite sure like what to do next. We are happy to be a place to help like direct and refer as necessary.
I have a question, y'all. So it said that most of your leave is 6 to 12 weeks. That's a bit of a time gap. What determines how long? Are we talking 6? Are we talking 12? Who's to say?
So the 6 to 12 is for the parental accommodation in particular. The leaves themselves, where you're like not in active study, is a full term. So the winter term or the fall term. Parental accommodation is about reduced academic expectations, as Jemiah said. So it's really about understanding, because you are welcoming a new child via birth or adoption, that there's going to be an adjustment that you are kind of going through as a family and as a new parent. And so that's a conversation that you have with your department to say, for these reasons, for these circumstances, I'm going to need to reduce my expectations during this time. For a non-birth parent, 6 weeks is kind of the max. And then for the birth parent, we have up to 12 weeks if chosen. So no one has to take 12 weeks, but you have the ability to take 12 weeks. That's for you and your department to kind of talk about. And again, if you want to manage, like that conversation, problem solve that conversation, Jemiah and the office would be a great resource to do that. And then all of that application material is also found online on the Rackham website about the parental accommodation, kind of period. Lots to take in and review, and always happy to respond to questions and to nuanced situations as well.
Thank you. Before we go, does anybody else have anything lingering, even the small half thoughts? Will Rackham or even GSpecs will hold an orientation in August? Someone asks.
We will be at Fall Welcome, but we won't be holding our own individual orientation. So August 22nd, there will be tables set up for graduate students to come by, check out the many resources. We will have our own table. We'll have some swag. You'll get the chance to meet some of the staff members in person. That is one way where, we'll be off of the computer and you can kind of meet us in person. And maybe if you have any concerns, even then you can reach out and be like, hey, what's your schedule looking like? Where can that type of information. But we won't have an individual orientation, not at least for our office.
I recommend everyone check out Fall Welcome. Danielle has placed a link in the chat for you to register, so it'll be already on your calendar. You'll definitely find even more resources and opportunities to connect with wonderful people like Mallory and Jemiah. Okay, if that is it for today, I thank you all for being here. Thank you, Jemiah. Thank you, Mallory. And if y'all have
Thank
any
you.
extra questions, you can always reach out to them.